Hello and welcome to another modelling video. This is Alan from the Makona Man at YouTube with another modelling video. Today we're going to be building the high-grade Universal Century MS-06 Zaku. Now this is a fairly basic high-grade Zaku, a part of the Ground War set, which I'm not sure how I've come across this kit. I used to run workshops for a convention and I'm running a greater workshop. And I think to memory I dug this out of the lost property bin, so it's not mine, but I've had it for so long, no one's sort of tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, give my model kit back, so I'm building it. Now the Ground War set is very cool, especially for a diorama, and I happen to be working on one, though I won't be using the rest of the pieces, just the Zakus. All the other really interesting items such as the figures and hover bikes and tanks will be saved for another day, but I'm in the need of a few Zakus. And having a look at it, it doesn't seem to be too bad at all. We have 5 set of runners, kind of colour separatable, few very prominent seam lines, though it is a bit early, polycaps, stickers, instructions are very clear, came together quite nicely, not too many issues, articulation quite nice, so I got it in a bit of a gunnery pose. It's not going to be a feature model, so just something very basic will do. Assembling was quite easy. Don't tell my boss, but I assembled this guy on night shift at work. Wanting to keep this pose, I took a photo of every angle. This was also entered in the out-of-box competition at Gundam Club Australia. Went fairly well at about 5th position out of 20 models, and can't complain at all. Slight modification of removing one shoulder and swapping the larger shield shoulder onto the left arm. The model was broken down to individual components and separated for seam line filling or not. The parts that required seam line filling had a quick dose of super glue run down the middle of it to prevent future splitting, as occasionally happens, then treated with squadron putty and sanded down. Now this is where all the talking goes in. A lot of the work was paint, and had the pieces mounted on skewers as normal. Areas such as points of articulation and polycaps were masked off with blue tack. Any bits that weren't required to be painted was put in storage. Everything was primed using Tamiya Grey primer, and had a look for any faults or imperfections, and decided to go for a grand salt weathering rusted look with very heavy tones of shading. I wanted to have as much definition pop out of this kit as humanly possible. Going back to my Dry C model kit, I was going to have certain parts that had multiple layers of rust or wear. Some bits that appeared to be from an older Zaku and really rusting, other bits a bit newer and showing shiny metal or polished up, evidence of parts and bits being replaced. Different bits of green across the body was shaded, or the post shading was done with slightly different colours to also give it a look of different tones of paint, but not as heavily. So all the parts, even though you see a lot of stands, are separated what was going to be shaded in different colours or have an undertone of different rusts. The bottom rust layers were done using salt weathering, and further salt weathering was done when the green paint started going over. The previous layer would have been pre-shaded with black Mr. Surface of 1500. Further highlights of a tan colour were provided on the top of individual components, and black shaded under where there would be a lot of shadowing. Further touch-ups were done here and there, just freehand dusting with the airbrush to just give it as much warmth and shading as possible, going for a different painting style than I normally go for. Weathering consisted of the usual sludge wash, tiny bit of dry brushing, and finished off with Tamir matte coat clear. I also went to the $2 shop and bought some of those mobile phone decorative gemstones that girls like to plaster on their mobile phone. These were really tiny ones, and it was absolutely perfect to glue right for the mono eye. Quite bright, I may add. The gun was painted with metallics and furtherly shaded. 2 decals were applied, but really roughed up with further paint and shading done on top of them. I didn't want any smaller decals because of the amount of wear and tear this model would have received, would have definitely worn off. Further light shading dusting on was done on top of the head and shoulders, and some darker undertones under the arms and between the legs. The bottom of the legs had mud and dirt dusted on as well to make it look like it was running through a field or desert or some sort of terrain that's going to rub off dirt in an interesting manner. Now I'm going to be brutally honest. I am absolutely stoked and really happy with this finish. It's definitely a paint job that's a cut above anything I've done before, and feel that this is going to be the general painting theme of my Gunpla Builders World Cup entry. This is not 100% perfect. A couple of colour choices, a couple of weathering choices could have been a bit different, though more or less I'm more than happy and proud to display this anywhere and call it as a proud build of mine. Being a Zaku, I just don't build enough Zakus. There's so many other interesting projects. I think it's time that these guys need to get a bit of attention from myself and just have a bit of fun playing around. This guy is also the general setting, theme and look that I'm going for my Gunpla Builders World Cup entry. He will be one of a few models on the diorama, just as a background grunt piece. And going to pump out a few more of this guy at this caliber with a little modification, a couple with a lot more heavier modifications, and a central model that has definitely been started. And it's going to be the centerpiece of the entirety of the diorama. Further work is going to be made and posted and provided on this channel. All the other Zakus are going to have individual videos like this, so they could stand alone as standalone projects, as well as the group thing at the end, near the end of the year. I also feel that this model is a result of my hard work practicing my airbrushing and running that series, Honing Your Airbrushing Skills. A video of that will be coming out shortly, where I'm actually going to be doing shading on a model kit, so that is something very worthwhile checking out if you haven't had a look at it before. If you have, look out for it. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, until next time, stay tuned for further reviews, tutorials, and my general builds. Catch you guys later.